Dear viewers, welcome to today's format, Visite. Thank you very much for all the valuable and nice letters. I'll read them right away, because I have chosen 2 letters today. The first is from someone from Nuremberg. Thank you, Maria, very much. You write that it is very important and valuable for you to watch these lectures again and again. That is also a nice expression, to see it as a lecture. But maybe that's the way it is. A lecture also expands knowledge. Someone is giving a lecture and thankfully has so many listeners. You write that you are slowly understanding your own body more and more. You are very grateful for that. And, of course, that you can take a lot more and more into your own hands. To know with joy a form of your health is also stabilized. You write so beautifully, it is a sensation how you can positively influence your own health. It's not just a sensation, it's sensational and sometimes unbelievable. Things change quietly, but they don't change because I have a good doctor. Or because I have the best equipment. Or because most people give supplements. No, they change because I decide what is good for me. Where does my body tell me? Where are the limits? Do I need the bar of cigarettes? Or is it much more honest for the money I spend on cigarettes? Do I go on a holiday where I can really relax deeply and get new strength? And these decisions for things can be incredibly life-saving. Because with many processes, even in our body, genes switch on and off first. That means that the development of carcinomas today is sometimes connected with such a step. That's why the lifestyle, the way of life is actually the biggest key to staying healthy. You have it in your own hands. And you write it so beautifully that you are very grateful for that. But you also write, I would like to have a family strain with a breast carcinoma. And how the school medicine advises me, should I always go to preventive care? Or is that really the right way? And you address me directly that it is intended to do mammography every year. And you ask again, you would be very happy if I did a program about it or my experience on it. Because things are of course a big topic for many women. We used to believe that we do a lot of good through mammography. To recognize tumors early on and to introduce certain strategies that present the mammary carcinoma to us early on. A clinical examination or a radiological examination, which in itself is very stressful and works with material, X-rays, which again have a toxic effect on the tissue, has not proven to be sufficient today in retrospect to the 30 years of mammography. I don't want to say that they are an examination that is perhaps contraindicated in any case. But here the dose makes the poison. And above all, the statement is very often clinically irrelevant. We have a lot of positive false tumors. We have tumors that can only be seen here from a certain size. That means, in prevention, of course, we may not be able to see. But we may not even be able to perceive the smallest size of the tumor through mammography. On the other hand, the radiation pressure cannot be underestimated, which may lead to a mammary carcinoma after 5 or 6 mammographies. We have experienced all of this. And that is why we no longer recommend obligatory, routine mammography. Because we have other possibilities to examine this today. And we also see the topic of breast cancer with a much greater breadth, also in prevention. And to think about whether I am developing a mammary tumor, it is not just to know how I was genetically set up, whether I had my mother or my sister or my aunt. But it is really my life to look at. Just presenting a gene alone does not mean that it becomes active. And that is why you should really know how my immune system is set up. How high is my toxic burden? Can I do a thermographic examination? We have a lot of experience in computer-assisted thermography, that you can examine the breast cancer tissue in its ability to regulate and can assess tissue very precisely with a side difference. Whether there is a disruption, a blockage, a hyperinflammatory problem, whether there are hormonal disorders. Today we know the close relationship. 30% of all breast mammary carcinomas are associated with a deficiency of vitamin D. We know that an iodine deficiency leads to breast cancer carcinomas. We know that a meridian blockade via the stomach meridian teeth, arbitrary interference fields, tooth and jaw osteitis, the nutrient base offers. There are an incredible number of things that can really be looked at. For a woman who is aware of this concern and wants to know, and also wants to get out of the way of many processes tomorrow, cannot be satisfied with a single mammography at all. And we really do not recommend it. Of course, with a gynecological examination every 2 or 3 years, I can also like to do my sonography. To simply maybe a mastopathy or hormonal dysregulation or to control a cystic process. Also, a trained sonographic colleague can already differentiate very well. It is incredible how today also ultrasound devices, also the circulation, i.e. the circulation, can typically represent. So there are in the context of prevention, especially with breast carcinoma, an incredible number of pre-examinations. Do not underestimate the question of the adrenal glands, the stress problem that we are experiencing. And that has everything to do with the development of the tumor, to what extent my immune system is set up. But I think it's nice that you stay in a great calm, stay relaxed and look over it again. Whether just the fact of controlling it and after 5 mammographies or to see, oh, there is something to think about now, because there is a family background. Keep this ball pretty low. And look at yourself, touch yourself and have your hand really lovingly on your chest and examine it when it is as soft as butter. And there are no, but only approaching signs and everything else around it that could trigger it. You know, you can keep your balance. Then, of course, these are really things that you can influence very well in advance. I never say never at this point, but as a doctor you have an insight into these things and you are of course allowed to discuss them accordingly because you speak from experience. I have a second question, and I would like to answer it in a completely different way. It's about a young woman who is going through a very big separation conflict. Because after 4 years her boyfriend has decided very radically that she cannot become the woman of his life. And he left. And now the feelings of anger and sometimes hate and grief, and she writes to me that she does not come to rest at all in this process. And she is still young. And I would like this email, because you wrote to me then what you are going through now in terms of health. What weight you have lost, how many weeks and how many months it has been in you, and the feeling that you just won't get rid of it. I would like to answer you with a story. And I took this story from a book by Hans Krupper. That's my favorite writer. And the story is called The Secret of Lightness. Two friends were sitting together in front of a fireplace. After a long silence, the older one clears his throat and asked, "What is your secret, what you could tell me?" "What secret do you mean?" "The secret of your lightness. I don't know anyone who goes through life as easily as you do." "How do you do that?" "I don't do anything. It happens somehow by itself. Maybe it's because of my genes." "So you don't have a strategy? No philosophy?" "I do have a kind of philosophy," said the younger one after a short reflection. "Its basis is my experience, which I have made as a young man. The first woman I loved left me from today to tomorrow without telling me why. I began to suffer and grumble and finally forced myself to accept the sad fact that nothing stays in life. It is always in motion and in permanent change. Everything begins and ends at some point. Feelings arise and feelings go away. Everything in life is provisional, like life itself." "Well, that sounds like you have overcome the pain of being left with philosophical thoughts about life." "Is that really that easy?" It wasn't easy at all. The pain was really deep. But I didn't want to lie on the new, apathetic sofa every day and suffer. Basically, I distracted myself from my grumbles about the transience of my injured feelings, which don't necessarily heal faster if you concentrate fully on them. And this distraction turned out to be helpful because I learned so much from it. And what did you learn? That in view of the fleetingness of life and feelings, it is completely natural for love to pass. And that it makes no sense to fight against the natural. In such a fight, you have no chance. At some point I told myself that I should be glad to have experienced this love instead of being depressed that it was over. And did that help you get over it? Yes, it helped me. That was already 20 years ago. Since then, I don't take anything for granted anymore. I enjoy everything good that happens to me. I embrace it, but I don't cling to it, even if it leaves again. I have adapted to the transience and the fleetingness of life. I no longer have any expectations that something beautiful, what I experience today, will be beautiful tomorrow. When my girlfriend left me, it was like a stab in the heart. But in the end, this stab woke me up from the sleep of my illusion about the nature of life, and brought out a solid serenity in me. Perhaps it also gives you the impression of a certain lightness. The older of the friends nodded thoughtfully. Maybe it's true. I see life more as a struggle. Maybe that's why I sometimes feel so difficult. Why didn't you fight for the love of your girlfriend back then? Why should I have? This love was faded. My girlfriend told me clearly. And I actually felt it too. But sometimes you have to fight for the feelings of a person who is important to you. There are certainly situations where this makes sense. Only when feelings are still alive, but don't know in which direction they should move. But when they have had their time, no desire and no struggle can give them their life back. Then you have to accept it and let go. And what do you notice? Do you notice whether feelings are still alive or already dead? I just feel it. I feel it in my soul when I let myself sink deep enough into it. On the basis of my own soul, I find answers sooner or later to all the questions that life asks me. And once again, it was a day, maybe a new day, and Ulrich Schaffner in Thickness of Life. This book is called Joy Gives Life Wings by Hans Krupper. But Ulrich Schaffner just today, this morning, I read a text for this day. Every day it is different, and it says the chapter is completed. Even if you repeat it again and again, it is completed. It will continue to be enough in your life, like all the things that we have experienced. And yet it is completed. Therein lies his blessing and his offer. Just because the chapter is completed, only because, and you have to let go of that, which you can't hold on to anyway. Only because nothing stands further than the transcription of the next chapter on a white page. What you are opening now is something new. It bears the present date. It is as soft as clay on the disk. Start writing. You must not expect love. And when feelings say goodbye quietly, then the honesty of a person is not rated high enough to estimate the way to set others free. Unfortunately, at the moment the pain is too great to understand that. But this sincerity and honesty gives you the chance, maybe for something very big, and something very deep, and something very new, and something very honest. In this sense, I wish you all a wonderful, beautiful week and look forward to the next program or the format visit. And whenever you have your questions or need advice, please write them to visite-at-qs24.tv. I look forward to dealing with them and discussing them with you. In this sense, all the best and see you next time.
Mal.